All right, so this week in Pax Dei, we got verse 4 finally coming out, and this is the start of changing Pax Dei for the better, and specifically with regards to adding a lot of the PvP content that has been missing from Pax Dei for so long. We have patch notes to go over, a preview, and then it's already out. The verse 4 has already released. It released as of September 10th. It has been out there. Players have been in the game already. I've been taking a look myself, and it's some exciting stuff. It's not everything that has been getting talked about for a while. We knew that. We were expecting that, so nothing has changed there, but we're going to go ahead and drop into that and talk about it and a little bit more. So hello and welcome back, all of you amazingly professional consumers of Pax Dei and Pax Dei related content out there. I'm Altari, the professional gamer, and this is another episode of the PAX Friday Review, the show where we talk about all the fun, interesting, new, and exciting information that has dropped for Pax Dei over the last week. Like I said, verse 4 is the verse that is going to change Pax Dei for the better. It is adding a whole nother layer to the game, more social dynamics, starting with PvP. We already know that the future parts of this verse are going to continue to develop that depth that we are looking for in the game, specifically with regards to feudal systems and bringing more conflict to Pax Dei. Some of that has already emerged. So we're going to go and talk about all of that by looking through the patch notes and the preview for verse 4, Raiders of Lyonesse. And I'm very excited. Before we do that, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe if you enjoy this type of content so you can be notified whenever new Pax Dei related information comes out, and share with any of your friends who might be interested in learning more. It definitely helps the channel out too. But let's go ahead and go over to playpaxday.com to talk about this more. I'll see you over there. All right, and here we are, playpaxday.com, verse 4, Raiders of Lyonesse. It's coming. It came September 10th. That was, 2 days from time of recording, and we got some cool stuff. There's a really cool trailer. I can link that down in the description below. It is basically just showing and teasing some players fighting each other. There's a couple of funny little Easter eggs in terms of the names that the devs used for their little PvP conflict that happened in the trailer. Definitely go check it out if that's something you're interested in. But what actually came with verse 4? And this is something that's important because we've been talking a lot on the channel recently about all of the changes that are to come. What exactly has come with verse 4? This is verse 4 part 1, I guess, if we can define it that way. And there are a lot of things that aren't here that we have been talking about, and it's important to note that in case you're thinking of, should I come back now versus should I come back later? And there's a couple of cases to why I think you should come back now, but there's also some pretty solid cases as to why you might want to wait and hold off for a little while longer. First things first, we got a new PvP map. It's large. it's very large in comparison to the Lyonesse 1.0 that we're very used to. It's not nearly as buggy. It is probably one of the most beautiful maps that I've seen in Pax Dei yet. It's got a lot of detail, a lot of new building assets, a lot of new... It's a very well put together zone. It's got dimensionality that we just haven't seen yet. The map designers, like, chef's kiss. Very well done. There are now 4 different areas, sub areas located in Lyonesse, and those are these 4 regions on the outside. Definitely worth going and checking out. There's also Pax Dei located in the various regions as well. Those are kind of safe spaces that you can go and respawn at. There's also a couple of repair locations throughout the zone as well. Very, very, very worthwhile to go and explore, but that's about it. Like that the map has changed. There is also a new resource two new resources actually that have come into the game, and that is this Amber Glow and then also Canaanite. Now, Amber Glow and Canaanite, they're only found inside Lyonesse. You can find them as these resources hanging around somewhere, or you can find them from a new type of mob known as the residual harvesters. They're collecting resources on our behalf. I find that funny how that's phrased. They're just collecting the resource, and if we go out there and kill them instead, then you can pick up the resource and loot them from their body. They also are a pretty good source of gold coin among other resources as well. In fact, a lot of drop rates have been updated recently. So if you've been trying to craft that tier 4 Sylvan staff that has been so pesky and you need to get all that Quicksilver for, well, Quicksilver drops have also been improved. We'll talk about that during the patch notes because they did highlight that as well. But with this being said, the biggest spoils will be found on their bosses and PvE sites across Lyonesse. So you should be able to take these guys on if you are in like tier 2 armor or higher with relative ease. You will probably need to have a group together if you want to be efficient on this, but do note that you are in Lyonesse and PvP is enabled. So you are also killable by other people who can take the loot off of you, and you could just end up being that residual harvester for another player or player group. Now, why? Why are we collecting these resources? For the time being, we are collecting those resources for this new type of crafting known as enchantment. So for enchanting, there are, with the 2 new resources that we can get, the Amber Glow and the Canaanite, you can use those with alchemy and jewel crafting skill trees combined to make sanctified oil. And the sanctified oil, they come in 4 tiers, starting at plus 50 and going to plus 125 throughout the different tiers in order to gain item power boosts. So the oil can be applied to any item that has item power, and when you do, it will boost it permanently in terms of its item power. Pretty useful if you're looking to eke out the last couple of bits of percentage points for a various weapon, or probably more so armor in terms of getting better defenses and better spell usage and all of that. But either way, this is a permanent power boost that you can get, and will certainly become more and more useful as the game develops and harder challenges rear their heads in other ways. I know right now the Golden Company, we're experimenting with this enchantment to see what combination of like lower tier plus enchantment could become a more efficient utilization of resource. So there's a lot of testing and experimenting to go with these enchantment options now, but that's not the only thing that came with verse 4 as well. So obviously we have the new map and we have these new resources and enchanting, but we also now have access to 36 new pieces of RP craftable clothing sets, I guess is the best way to put them. And they are these are pretty cool looking sets. Now, in terms of unique models, they're all relatively similar. It's like 1 or 2, you'll have like a tunic or something like that, and then it'll have a couple of color variations with it. These are actually pretty cool. They give a lot of different character customization. You have the Christmas cloak is what everyone I've spoken to has called it, with the red and green. But these are some pretty cool colors. Definitely go and check them out, craft them out and see what it looks like. This is a welcome improvement from just the Founders Finery that we've had access to in terms of RP clothing so far. I hope that mainframe, every update from now till the end of eternity, includes additional RP clothing sets that we can keep on just being able to craft and create variation for us as players to feel like we're customizing our characters better. Last thing that is really like of the highlightable gameplay changes with the final part of verse 3, we had this UI update, and with the UI update, people were not happy with how things were looking, and that UI has now been changed based on some player feedback, and now we have going all the way from tier 0 all the way through to tier 6 legendary. So far, we've made it all the way to tier 4. Tier 5 we have yet to get to, in tier 6. So there's actually a couple more tiers that we haven't been able to craft to. And then in addition to that, we also have a couple more teasers. And we've actually talked about this in previous PAX Friday reviews. But the difference between the quality versus the tier. So the tier is going all the way to tier 6, but then the quality itself can go all the way up to legendary. And then if you get this other potential thing, this master crafting symbol, then you get plus to master crafted as well. So these visual changes are things that have been implemented so that when we get to the point of being able to make legendary and tier 6 items, that this can all be updated and upgraded as we go. Another UI change that some players are going to be really excited about is the biome, indicator that is showing up underneath the compass. I don't know what this feature is because personally, for my immersion purposes, I have removed the compass, which you can still do in the settings. I do hope at some point they will allow us to customize some of this stuff, because one thing that I have found out is that, like, for example, when you're in Lyonesse, there is a PvP on indicator that shows up when you're inside that is actually linked to the compass. So if you turn compass off, you'll no longer be able to see if you're in in a PvP enabled zone or not. I think that is a mistake to have that linked to the compass. I think the same applies for this biome kind of region thing. It would be really great. I know this is a very niche feature that probably won't be coming for a while, but being able to actually change the UI and customize it so that you can put player names and all the different things in a place that a player wants, as opposed to just where it's been pre-populated. A couple of other changes have come as well. We can make our characters ugly. We can really make our characters ugly. There's also an age slider now, and all of these are sliders. So you start with a preset and then you can go into it. I went through the character creation menu. It's good. It's not the full UE5 character slider customizer. I feel like there's not as much variation as with a lot of other UE5 style character creators, but it's still way better than what it was when PAX Dei originally came out, all the way up until this update. So welcome addition, something that they needed to do in preparation for launch. And I feel like a lot of the things that are coming out now are all pointing immediately and directly towards a launch happening and being imminent. We have more tutorials. Everything looks like a more put together game. We just need to get these features in there as well, and it'll be looking good. The Cosmos were updated, and it's funny that we talk about the Cosmos because this is supposed to be some system that existed in the game. It is something that at the very early parts of PAX Dei being pitched to all of us, that they mentioned the stars in the sky having an impact on gameplay and having astronomy and this cosmological kind of order to the game. And they just kind of slept on it past that point. So the Cosmos is what that system, I'm pretty sure, is called. And it has gotten an update. The stars in the night sky look a lot more realistic. There's a lot more realism with regards to just all things environmental. I mean, this game is absolutely gorgeous, and it keeps on getting more and more beautiful. And it manages to run pretty dang well, at least on my system. But from what I've heard on a lot of people's systems as well, those 2080 Ti's are still plug in and chug in. It's incredible actually how much these graphics cards can still make the game look incredibly beautiful. But Cosmos did get enhanced too. Hopefully we actually get some gameplay elements to come with the Cosmos at some point in the near future as well. But it looks really cool when you look up into the night sky. And that is pretty much it. We do have tutorials now coming in as well. As the game becomes more stable with all of the features, I've been intending to re-up all of the tutorials that I did way long ago that helped a lot of players when they first got into Pax Dei, but the game's changed. Nothing in any of those original tutorials actually is applicable now, which is crazy to think about because that was only like about a year to a year and maybe a half ago. And the game is just intrinsically changed and all of the tips and pointers are just absolutely wrong now. So we will be working on doing our own update to tutorials on this channel as well. But in the meantime, a lot of the tutorial pages to get players into the game have also been updated to really increase that new player experience, which is a really important thing to have. All right, we're going to jump really quickly over to the patch notes so that we can just cover all of the small changes that were there. I'm going to highlight a couple of them. I will see you over there. All right, and here are the patch notes for Raiders of Lyonesse. So first and foremost, yes, everything that we just talked about did happen. There are a couple of actual other changes that did happen with this particular update as well. So I'm just going to highlight those since we did cover a lot of the other patch notes that are there. Specifically, there are a couple of updates with drop rates. So deer bucks are now guaranteed to drop antlers when you loot them. That is a huge change. It has been something that the community has been asking for a while. That has now been updated. Also important to note, Quicksilver has had a little tweak, a little update that is increasing its drop rate. It's been dropping from other areas as well, including, I think, loot boxes, as well as some mobs in addition. And that is great because I know a lot of players, it was one of the rarest, specifically one of the rarest items in the game. And the prices on the general open market were skyrocketing. They're in the thousands of gold. It was a lot. I mean, to give everyone, if you're not familiar with Pax Dei prices right now, the average 2-hour dungeon run would net you probably close to anywhere between 700 and 1200 gold. So if you wanted to buy a single Quicksilver, you would have to spend like 6 or 7 hours in a dungeon to get enough gold, which a dungeon is probably one of the more efficient ways to get gold, to get enough gold to buy one. And in order to craft a Sylvan staff, you need 20. So that's like 100+ hours of having to grind for gold in order to get it. And typically those prices do reflect how much time it was taking people to actually get said item as well. So if you wanted to just go farm it yourself, one, there's a lot of RNG that was associated with that, hitting it and getting it from granite rocks, but it's been improved. So that's really, really nice. In addition to that, they did some rebalancing of some of the build pieces. They also fixed some of the smaller foundation integrity pieces, as well as lower foundations were being fixed to give more support. And we also got a improved character creator library. So new character creator and also the background for it. Looks pretty cool. We got new intro music as well. And it's nice. Things are kind of coming together in that way as well. There was a lot of fixes to just various bugs and things that have been known on the backlog, and you can see that here. Just a lot of quality of not quality of life, but just a backlog of smaller bugs and things that were in the game and had been known for a while but are now getting fixed. And with that, They also, in terms of the world, other than increasing the Quicksilver drop rates here, they did remove T2 rare spawns from T1 Heartland camps. So you're not going to have the tier 2 enemies showing up in a tier 1 Heartland camp. You would only see T1 enemies showing up in the T1 areas. They also did some various improvements to specific POIs and dungeons. And the visuals just got way better. They're always getting better. It's crazy how much the visuals improve every couple of updates here. So we also got a couple of camera improvements, some audio improvements, and some crash fixes as well. There are a lot of known issues still, specifically like the bottom snapping point functionality for multiple foundation pieces. This is something that they've known about and they're working on fixing. It's not something that's been fixed yet. And then also there's just a couple of small things. Let's just say that like shooting with a bow is possible when you're using emotes. Combat state not ending when players who are in combat against each other leave a PvP zone and remain in proximity, which prevent equipment changes and affecting regeneration. So you get in a fight in Lyonesse, you leave Lyonesse, and the two players are still near each other, and then because they're remaining in proximity, they're not dropping from combat. There's also just a couple of UI and HUD related things that are coming up, as well as one big one. Character creation may fail and the game can crash if you create a character up to the zone selection step, then cancel each step to return to the character selection lobby, and afterward create and enter the game with a new character. So there is a potential way that you can fail to make a character. Just know that if you do encounter that, really all you have to do is restart the game and it'll be fixed. Other than that, there are some cosmetic things. A lot of the boots are clipping through other pieces right now, so they are going to work on fixing that. It does look kind of silly. The longer boots look great, but then you can't actually see them because most of the pants are just clipping over them. That is all for the patch notes. If you do want to check them out, I will link to them down below in the description. But let me know what you all think about this particular update. It does not include feudal houses. It does not include mounts. It does not include any alliance systems or any additional ways to use grace. Those things are on the horizon. We talked about them a couple of weeks ago. We spoke about them with the developers as well. There's a lot to explore in Lyonesse. There's a lot of things to kind of figure out what the future might hold. We might have some videos coming out in the future talking about all of that. But until next time, I'm Eltari, the Professional Gamer. I'll see you in the next video.